Welcome to Breaking Ties, a new you after divorce. This is your go-to source for practical advice and support for when the divorce process has finished. Join us each weekday for a quick chat where we'll cover a variety of topics related to post-divorce. Together, we'll explore the emotional, financial, and legal aspects of life after divorce and help you find the best path forward for you and your family. Here's your host and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst professional, Mike Fulkerson.
Hello and welcome back to Breaking Ties, the interview series, where we talk with professionals who assist those getting through the divorce process and answers many of the common questions that you might have. Now, we are on day 4 of 5 of the series with Margaret Zuleger, and Margaret is a collaborative divorce attorney with her own practice. How are you doing today, Margaret?
Great, thanks.
Well, I tell you what, it's been great to have you on this week. And if our listeners haven't checked out the first parts of this series this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think, you got to go back and listen to it because Margaret's been answering some really great questions on collaborative divorce, sharing a ton of information. And I think you all will appreciate that. So go back and check it out if you haven't done so already. Now, we're going to continue on our discussion, and we've walked through a lot of this kind of the process last time and the meetings and a little bit of what happens. And we're going to continue that. So continuing with the kid questions, we've got, can we use the collaborative process to create a parenting plan?
Yes, so the collaborative divorce process gets you to all of the final written documents that you need in order to get a divorce. So in every case, you need a marital settlement agreement. That's where all the financial information is described and allocated. If you have children, minor children, you also have to have a parenting plan or allocation judgment. This allocation judgment is what you work up in the collaborative process, and the attorneys draft it, and then the parties sign it, and then it's approved by the judge.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, you would have to assume that, the collaborative process would handle children and all the pieces, parts that go with it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're very child focused if there are children. In fact, that's often why a couple will choose collaborative if they have children, because they're going to try, their goal is to get divorced as peacefully as possible so that they can go on and co-parent their children. Because they'll go from spouses and co-parents to just co-parents, but they're still going to be parents of these children. And even if the children are not minors, they are still parents of the children. There can be some real challenges around parenting, not really parenting, but sort of parenting with adult children.
Right.
There are issues with adult children. There's, payment of college. There's, sometimes there's like health issues. How are we going to deal? How are these parents going to deal with the child's health issue, even if it's not specifically controlled anymore by the court? If they're over 18, sometimes the parents really want to find a way to continue to support their child if their child has a special need or just general, early adulthood angst.
Right. Well, I think as a parent, really, you're almost always parenting. I mean, even when I go back to see my parents, I just slide right into the kid role with my parents. Even it's so uncanny how that works out.
Yes. Yeah, you still are parenting your children and, your adult children, just in a different way,
Exactly.
Hopefully in a different way.
All right. So we've got the finances, we've got the kids. What happens once we reach a collaborative divorce agreement?
Well, once everything is written and signed by the parties, then the attorneys also prepare all the documents that you need to get before the judge. So the petition for dissolution of marriage, the appearance, there's usually, depending on the county, a stipulation saying that you're ready for prove-up, getting the date for the prove-up, or if you're doing it by Zoom, an affidavit for prove-up. But anyway, getting all the documents together, signed where needed, including any division of retirement. So if the parties are dividing an IRA, a pension, basically any retirement asset other than an IRA, then they need a QDRO, Qualified Domestic Relations Order. And that's what divides a 401k or a pension or a 403b or whatever. And so that document also has to be prepared. And I always want it to be prepared and entered at the time of the judgment. It can be done afterwards, but I don't that's not a good idea. So that's not, but we know that. So the attorneys are, as the agreements are coming together, if we know we're going to need a quadro, we get working on that so that it's ready for the finalization. So we're not waiting, once the parties are ready to get divorced, we get them divorced. That's their job.
Right, exactly. You made it to the end. Let's just get it finished without delay.
Yes, so people can move on. It's hard.
It is.
And the sooner people can move on and start healing, the better.
Absolutely. Now, so we've got all this stuff together. Everything's ready to go. Do we have to make a court appearance to finalize the divorce?
Well, it used to be yes, and in some counties it still is, and it's also up to preference. But so generally speaking, prove-ups, that's the finalization, are via Zoom. So you do appear, and your attorney asks you a bunch of questions. The answer to everything is yes. Their side kind of repeats some of the questions, then the judge signs the judgment. So we used to be in person, obviously, but now it's typically over Zoom. There are some counties that are starting to allow a prove-up by affidavit, which is just like preparing another document. And so you don't need a court appearance, but you need to prepare that document that needs to be signed and filed. So there's still, it's an option. I almost kind of like the Zooms better. I mean, just the in-person, because it's a finalization. You were there at the beginning, you were there at the wedding. I kind of like, the final court appearance, just one last time, just, I don't know. That's just a personal preference. The prove up by affidavits, is becoming an option in most of the counties now.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I didn't even really think about like doing any of these processes via Zoom.
Yeah. Most courts, Zoom's your only really your only option. Even if you're self-represented, just in everything.
Right.
You can come in, some courts allow in person, but they really prefer Zoom for most things. Things are just kind of routine, like approve it. Like the finalization is pretty routine because you don't get to the finalization date until you have everything signed. So it's not the time to argue about things or ask the judge to decide anything. It's just to have the judge rubber stamp your agreement, basically, and finalize it.
Yes. Man, once again, today has been fantastic because we have reached the end of our 4th day of the interview series. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing the information that you're sharing, Margaret. This is fantastic.
You're welcome.
Now, for those who caught today's episode as their first episode, this is a 5-part series. So we've already got 3 days in the books. You're going to want to go back and listen to those. They have different questions, and they all pertain to the collaborative divorce process. Then you're going to want to come back tomorrow and join us as we continue our discussion on the final day. Margaret and I would like to take a moment to thank you for joining us today on this episode of Breaking Ties, the interview series. Should you have questions for Margaret, she's happy to answer them. Her information is going to be in the description here of the podcast. Divorce is not the end of your story. It is the start of your next great chapter. And with that, Margaret and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.
Bye-bye.